Show.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Episode 191. I'm joined by special guest Josh Lancaster or Lancaster, however you want to say it. You said I can say it either way, but thanks so much for joining, man.
Hey, no problem. Thank you. Thanks for having me a guest again. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed it.
yeah, I'm excited. So, just to preface a little bit about Josh. So Josh has a lot of accolades as a coach and an athlete. 100 kilo circus dumbbell, under 80 kilo, performed at under 80 kilo weight class. You've coached an athlete at World's Strongest Man, which is, I think, a lot of coaches' big dream in this sport, which is really cool. Just set the British record for axle at 156 kilos in the 90 kilo class just last weekend, where you main reason, one of the main things I want to talk about, you're coming off your second place finish at the Chaos Classic. So that's just a couple things, and we'll get into some more. But how are you feeling after 2 weeks ago?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? How am I feeling?
At the Chaos Classic?
Yeah, feel great. Really happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that you came out of nowhere, because I know you definitely didn't, and you've been around for a long time. But
oh
like,
my word!
I don't.
I can't believe people think this.
Yeah,
But
no,
no, I could see it. I could see it.
but it just, I think when people were doing, like people make YouTube videos and they talk on Instagram and whatever about their podium predictions, when you have a really big show like the Chaos Classic, and I don't think you're on many people's podium. And I woke up early to watch in America, and you put on a clinic, man. You missed first place, not to rub it in, but by half a point, and really like a second total. And it was a total clinic by you. And it was just a great performance. So that's what I was curious about, how you're.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that massively.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I must admit, I was surprised at the placing, but with the breakdown of the events and what I did, like I just did exactly what I said I was going to do. If you look, I don't know if you looked on my Instagram like the week before, just said like pretty much what I'm. The process goals and the targets for the comps, like 9 times out of 10, 90% of the time, I'm absolutely right with what I predict and what I project for the individual event. And I know I can never predict how it's going to stack up, and that's what I was surprised with. But run those six events 10 times round, and I'd hit the same. I think I'd run the yoke a little bit faster. If I did it 8 times out of 10, I'd run that faster. I think the farmers would be within 0.3 of a second, 10 sets of it. I think the sandbag loading was, it was perfect. Fair play to CJ, because I think he did like the 3 in like 10.6 or something, and I did like 11.1. And my best case scenario was aiming for 11 seconds to 3 bags. I knew my limits. I'm not going to load the 160 bag. But I wanted to hit 11 seconds. I hit 11 seconds, and a better man beat me. And what else was the deadlift to hit? I hit 290 kilos for 4 reps in March in a competition in England's Strongest Man. So my heart was just set on. I was just so focused on hitting 5 for the 290, and that's what I did. And the axle, maybe run that 10 times, and I might fail it 3 times. I might misgroove it, but I think that was, I knew what I was capable of. I knew I could do it. I reckon I could if there was like a 159, 160 kilo jump in there, I think I'd have had a good shot at that too. So yeah, that's what, and that's why I like say if you. I was surprised at the result. I'll be honest. Like I was surprised at how it stacked up. The thing that I was surprised with was, that gave me confidence reflecting on, was the load and drag, where I look at the fucking field of the athletes, and like all the athletes that I competed against, like they're all massive inspiration to me, honestly, because I'm a geek in the sport for absolute years. I suppose climbing the ranks, so to speak. I've been putting all these people in like up on a pedestal for years, and they've been my inspiration and what I've been aiming to close the gap on and work towards. So to compete in that field of, like say Tyler Davis and Derek and Philip, who's won like the world's ultimate under 90s. The Derek's just podiumed at OSG last year. Tyler Davis, like OSG champ. Um, like the whole field. Like say even Tom Butts from UK, he's like the drug tested world champion. And I looked at his performance last year to win that, and I thought, absolutely unbelievable. And just like the whole field, I could go through the whole list of people, and I'm thinking, and I suppose that's a bit of a lesson to people listening. Actually, is I do kind of preach to people in terms and like my clients about just focus on the process, focus on the process goals, focus on the process goals. But I'll be honest, like it is virtually impossible. Like when you, because on one hand you're looking at like your fellow competitors for inspiration, or if I didn't do that, I wouldn't. If I didn't compare myself to these guys, I wouldn't have improved and chased them to close the gap. But then I don't know. It's finding that kind of compromise and that middle ground. Where on that, like say on the game day, I wasn't like competing against these guys before it. I'm like, oh my god, these are amazing. Whereas like on the day, I'm just so focused on my process goals that I just felt like I had ice in my veins. I just felt like I could go and execute that 10 times over because I just felt so focused. I had my the targets that I went and did actually on that I've just explained. Like I just went and nailed them, and at no point was I thinking, oh well, I need to pip so and so on this. I need to pip him on that. I need to, I wasn't doing the maths as I went along. I was just like, right, what's my best case scenario? What am I aiming for? Boom, right, let's go and execute it. And then I went and executed, and it stacked up a lot better than I thought. So yeah, it's a bit of a yeah, that was what I was saying. The load and drag was the surprise, where I had no data on that in like big competitions in terms of knowing what I can do and how it would stack up. So I went into that. I'll be honest. I went into that, and I thought, aim for like top half, top 10. Don't lose too many points because I haven't actually done it in a comp for ages. But I did OSG last year and didn't do very well. And that was one of the events that I'd prepped and I felt so fucking confident for, like nailing the sled drag. And I didn't get to do it because my loading was so terrible. So I didn't get to do that implement of the thing. So yeah, even like I remember doing that and being like, I'm going to absolutely nail that, and felt amazing on the sled drag. So it was good to actually get a competition where I went and showed it and went and showed I could do it. And I think Tyler Davis beat me with like 32 seconds or something. I think I was like 33, 34, and then ahead of like well the rest of the field. So yeah. That was the one surprise, just because I had no data, I suppose.
So do you think like you're talking about, like you look up, and I think everyone does it, and it is a double-edged sword where you want to focus on yourself, but also having to you need to look at these guys because we continue to push the barriers for what can be accomplished.
Yeah.
And do you think like your podium finish last weekend? Do you think that kind of proved to yourself like psychologically like something like I do belong, or did you already think that or
What, honestly, it's crazy. Like I think I've got a bit of like a different mindset to a lot of people, where I don't know. My mind hasn't changed for like say for the last 5 or 6 years. Yeah, like my goal has always been to be like I believe I'll be a world champion in strongman. I don't know what class, what federation, whatever, but I do believe that. I'm in no rush to do it. Ideally before I'm 40, ideally in the next 7 years. That's what I've thought in my head. But like I genuinely do believe that. Like others, there's so many reasons why I maybe can't do it, but I do believe that, and it's weird. Like I don't know, like last year, like going to OSG actually, and I was like really disappointed with my performance in terms of the process goals. Like I just went and I just performed terribly, and it just wasn't good enough. And like people who follow me on social media and stuff will know that I hate excuse people who make excuses, and so I just refuse to do it. I won't make any excuses about it. So this was my thing, even though I felt that I was good enough to do well there, and I don't mean podium, but I thought I could be knocking on the door for the final with those events. That was the goal, and I was absolutely nowhere near. But it was so hard doing like a reflection on OSG because I had all these things in my head that if I went and reran it, I would change and subtle little things, but I refused to put them on social media because it's a fucking excuse. So my attitude was, I just need to be patient and go out and show how capable I am at the next opportunity, whether that be this year or next year or whatever. So I feel like I've done that finally at the Chaos Classic. I feel like like I've said, my reaction to it in terms of the event were like, it's no surprise to me what I did on the event, like at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose to show that kind of like I felt like OSG was my opportunity last year to felt like right, I've rehabbed my long term injury or whatever. I've been still making up numbers at like say pretty big shows, like absolutely fucked. Like in terms of, I did the Chaos Classic last year, and I could barely pick up a 120 kilo sandbag. I was in agony, but I just I couldn't turn down the opportunity to compete against these guys and kind of, just rub shoulders with them. And I only admitted it on social media probably about 3 weeks ago. But I actually wore two pairs of briefs on the log event because my hips were in so much pain to help
Wow.
me clean the log last year that I didn't tell anybody about because I might have got disqualified anyway. But yeah, I was fucking in absolute agony, which I was fine going along with that. I was fine, like right, it doesn't matter if I finish last. I'm still gaining experience. I'm still learning stuff. Because when I'm better, then I know that I'm going to be capable, and I'm going to be, capable of beating some really good people, I suppose. And yeah, in terms of what did you say about imagining yourself like? Um, yeah, I remember at last OSG last year, and I remember looking and doing fucking terribly in terms of placing and whatever. But I was watching the presentations, and I just remember thinking like, I can just see myself doing that. I can see myself on the podium. I believe that I'll be on the podium at some point. It wouldn't surprise me if oh, it'll be multiple times. To be honest, like I do believe, and I don't feel like any. I said something on Instagram the other day, and it was, yeah, I'm ready. I feel like mentally, I'm ready to do really, really well, and when I'm physically good enough, then I'll take my shot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that self-belief is like super, super important. And I didn't know, I was just curious what your mindset was coming out of this big podium, just a few weeks ago. So that's really interesting. Um, and your bio says, you're a coach first and then an athlete. And you're one of my favorite coaches that like truly follow on Instagram because you seem like you're really, I call it like you're non-cookie cutter. You kind of seem like you're always finding a new way or a little a way to really use your body or your leverage or this small thing to your advantage. And like I just think it's such a unique viewpoint that you have. So that's why you're like one of my favorite coaches to follow. And and you know where does that come from? Like you're coaching, and you do it as a competitor too. You can definitely tell, and you're really dialed in. And I have a couple other questions about your coaching, but where does your coaching kind of like viewpoints come from? Where like literature, coaches you look at, how have you kind of become the coach that you are?
To me, it's just logic. It's like it's break everything down to what is it that what's his face Elon Musk says like about like first principles, and it's just basically breaking things down to the simplest form. Like how would you do them? Like it, I suppose like I have got exceptional self belief, like because there's so many times in my life, like in other things, where I've just had to back myself and just trust intuition. And 90% of the time, like 9 times out of 10, it pays off. So I've just taken that philosophy and scaled it and diversified into coaching and diversified into being an athlete myself, but just always like trusting my intuition. And a lot of people get like say can misinterpret it as like I'm purposely doing something against the grain, where as realistically, like I'll jump on the same bandwagon as everybody else if I truly believe it, you know. But it's just I'm not kind of I'm good. I suppose I'm good at not getting distracted by what's around me. You know, I won't be influenced in terms of to my detriment sometimes. Like sometimes there's been like say some situations in my life where the I've had to take the hard way because I haven't believed in. I've had to go against things because I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I suppose I've always been bold, and I've always like I suppose maybe it comes from other sports really. Like I've played other sports competitively, football, rugby, tennis, whatever. I think a big thing was like I played football for maybe 12 years before it overlapped a little bit with strongman, but then I gave it up to concentrate on the strongman. But I was captain of my team there, and it was just like local league divisions, but we climbed from like the lowest tier to like the highest tier over the course of whatever 7 8 years, and I was the captain right from the start, and I felt like a bit of an imposter right at the start because I was like in a team of I think I was like 20, maybe 20 years old when we started off, and I was the captain of a team of 22-year-olds who were all that most of them were a little bit better than me, and I just had to learn how to just I don't know be bold and back myself and lead the team even when like I suppose that's been a good thing with that's given me confidence with coaching other people better than me actually before I've been a decent athlete myself is that I remember the influence that I used to have on the collective even when I played shit and even if I made mistakes like individually like the net positive of having me in the team because of the influence and how I'd help the others would so that's what I've taken into my coaching really. Um, but yeah, just not getting distracted by what's gone before. Like a lot of people forget that strongman's only been around since 1977, so it's in its infancy. And you know so what's that? Say 23. What are we in now? So that's like
47 years.
47 years, of which I've been competing full time maybe 8. Like where people have been criticizing me for how much I compete and how often I compete. But if you look at it as a percentage, like what's that, like maybe 16, 17% of since the sport's been around, I've been there competing full time. Like I've been, you know, Lord knows how many competitions I've done, and I've seen it. I've competed at say at all levels as a weight class athlete. I've coached at every single level as a coach. So I see a lot that I see. Obviously, you see the different ways that are done in, you know, like say some of the U80 comps and pathways are different to the U105 pathways in the UK. Even so much as the rules and the ethics and so it's quite interesting, like how, like taking little bits from each one and actually applying it to the different contexts and stuff. It's
Right. Well,
yes, but
it's like it's been around for, we said, like 47 years roughly, say 50 years. But how, so it's already that infant, like you said, but then add in the weight classes and the new avenues and how much more competitive and avenues are for 80s, 90s, 105s, and those techniques are completely different to what super heavy, which when it was only super heavyweight. So that's even more infant, right? You know what I mean? So finding out new techniques for an 80 versus a super heavyweight. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
I
it,
suppose that's what I've done well. But going back to the first principles thing, right from years ago, I remember right when I started, and now like I suppose. Well, I suppose even at like say world level at the Chaos Classic or whatever, doing the dumbbell record and whatnot. Like I've done a 110 kilo dumbbell for the uh, online qualifier for Europe's this year, 110.1, I think I did. Um, so I remember when I started, like overhead was my worst lift. I remember entering my first comp and whatever the log was, I remember it being like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm going to have to no rep it, and just like it being too heavy, it just being too heavy. So and I remember speaking to people around me and getting a bit of advice, and they were like, "Oh, well, you need to get your pressing strength up. You need to get your upper body strength up. You need to build." And I just thought, but that's going to take me ages and ages to build up enough strength to be able to do that. And then I thought, I just wasn't convinced. So I thought, because that was the first gaping hole that I had to fill, I just thought, right, well, who are the best in the world at lifting weights overhead? So then, obviously, I learned about weightlifting. I'm like, fucking, what? Well, if he can clean and jerk 260 kilos, like, what can we take from that to apply to these different objects? Do the principles still apply when they're awkward objects, or does that only work with a bar? I'm not sure. Like, not many people have done it that much and documented it. There's not that much. So then I started learning Olympic weightlifting, like just to get myself better and get better at teaching the overhead lifting. And now, like a lot of people think that a lot of people ask me like that they think that I've got a weightlifting background. I'm like, no, I've just learned a bit like Olympic weightlifting just to get better at strongman. And then the different holes in like say deadlifting mechanics and stuff. So I've worked with like powerlifters. I've looked at people who, they've studied powerlifting for years. They're good powerlifters themselves. They've had good coaches. And then say moving events like that was a one where again, oh my god, like thinking back, I think it was about 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 years ago, where I employed a sprint coach, an athletics coach, and I said, "Oh mate, can you come down and do a session with me?" And then he came down to the gym, and I could tell that he was perplexed by what I was asking him, because I think he didn't realize that I was wanting to carry weights faster. I thought he thought he was just wanting. He thought I was just wanting him to teach me how to sprint, and I'm saying no. I'm not interested in running without weights, but the stuff that you teach to people in track and field, like how can you do it with my hands down by the sides carrying an object like that? And he was like, "Oh, well," and it was tricky for him. But like he helped me. He said, "Right, well, if we just have to isolate the legs, then we focus on this." Like, and he was saying, like your timing's out, your striking's out, like your gait mechanics are all out. Like so then he set me off with some drills to improve my gait mechanics, improve my timing, my contacts, what like all this like complex stuff, and then I put some stuff on social media, put some Instagram stuff, me doing these sprint drills, and honestly, I had to stop putting them up because people were just like taking the piss, like, "Oh God, you look like an idiot. You like what you're doing, what you're doing." But I could always see the big picture, and 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 now, like, look, I've done a look at the the names that I beat last week at Farmers. Nobody could beat me on Farmers and Yoke last week, and that was a thing that that I look back a few years, and that's a thing that people told me. Oh yeah, what are you doing that for? You just look like an idiot. But yeah, like I've kind of done that with everything. Like say learning how to throw, So I'm looking at like studying like Highland Games, and not just people who do Giants Live who are fucking absolutely launching stuff because they're absolute animals.
Right.
Like actually looking at people who are really efficient doing weight over bar at Highland Games that are not monsters to look at, but they're
Yeah. Okay. So that's brilliant because, like, a couple things there. You took stuff because strongman is very complex with all this different stuff you got to do, and it's still a newer sport. So you went and
yeah
looked, okay, pressing, that's a major thing in strongman. So who's the best presser? Olympic lifters. Throwing, who's the
yeah
best throwers? Highland Games. Power lifters, deadlifting. Like, it sounds simple, but not a lot of people do that. And I think that's why you're such a successful coach. Like the sprinting thing, like that's crazy. I didn't know about that. That's
yeah.
brilliant, and I think that's so
But
cool.
even so much as like what I learned from another element was like what I did. I started to do CrossFit a little bit just to understand. Like I recognize that right, these guys are known for having like killer work capacities, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah. So that sort of thought, right, well, what if I learned how to do that? Like, how could I apply that to strongman? And then that's a thing that people like, say, people who follow my training, my own training, and they just watch it, or people who train with me sometimes, like they just think my work capacity is like out of this world. Or someone said like I've got 3 CNSs the other day or something, and it just, but to me, like it just feels like, I suppose taking the logic to it, like is actually, a lot of people think I do like, oh, how does he train so heavy so often? How does he do so much volume? To me, it just makes sense. It's been like a slow, gradual thing that I've built up over time, where I've built up the tolerance to this stuff because like intentionally. It's not a surprise. Like the way I lay it out, like. And I kind of worked back. Another thing that I combined with the CrossFit for the kind of work capacity thing was rehab. Was like if you like, say you're rehabbing and you work with a physiotherapist, physical trainer, whatever they're called in US. Like what do they say to you? Like if you were rehabbing, like say a bicep injury, for instance, like what do they say to you, right, when you're rehabbing? Do they say, right, just do 5 sets of 5, but you can only do it once a week? You're gonna have to wait till next Monday until you do your next set.
Right. No, they say do it. Right.
Say, right, well, do that. Do a few sets of 10 in the morning, in the evening, and then again tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then you build it up, and you build your tolerance up like that. And I'm not saying that everybody should train every lift every day, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that seem to be scared about fucking. I always, most of my training sessions, I train deadlift on its own now just because it's a shorter session. But most of the most of my training sessions, it's just whole body. I'll do a press, I'll do a deadlift, I'll do some sprinting, I'll do some throwing or whatever, and it's all like, because another thing about that being intentional is I actually hate being sore. I don't like getting DOMs. I don't like getting DOMs,
Right.
like, so the way that I train, like I feel like, I don't know, I've just built it. Yeah. Like to me, it's just logical, and a lot of people that I coach have like built up similar kind of things where they could just turn up, To remember when I often start with people and they're just like, they're a bit scared of like, oh god, doing a bit more work than I'm used to or whatever, and then a few months in, Like that's the kind of feedback that I get. Like it's usually like 6 month mark, 12 month mark. People just feel like, oh, I feel like an absolute animal now. I feel like I could just turn up to any competition, like at the drop of a hat, turn up, go and compete, not be worried whether I'm going to finish the show, and then go and train the next day. And I'm not saying that that is the best way to peak necessarily, but in terms of, I suppose what I'm saying in terms of like recovery, like you, I think a lot of us can do a lot more than what we
Yeah.
what we I think, and I actually think the way that a lot of people lay out the kind of, people doing like kind of bodybuilding style split training templates, I think it kind of breeds this thing of struggling to recover, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
uh,
Makes sense.
and again, to me, like say, could go down a rabbit hole about like injury risk and stuff like that, but we won't do. But I just think people get like, say, hyper specialized in certain kind of planes and certain lifts, and then they get so strong, like in their off season, that in terms of force production, and then they go to like say peak for a comp 6 weeks out, or whatever, peak for a show, and then they've got all this kind of force production gains, but they're going into these like movements that they haven't really built up a recovery exposure to, that they've got so much potential to do themselves fucking damage because of all that force they can produce. And
Right.
then
Yeah.
they've been building a massive squat over the off season so they can handle a really heavy yoke, but then they do 3 sets of 50 foot and they feel like the shins are going to explode, or the knees are sore, or the feet are sore, or they've got back put, or like, I don't know. I just think that it is very obvious what's if you do 6 competitions over the course of a year, you can guess maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 movements that are likely to come up. So why don't we work backwards from that? Like say a deadlift, log, axle, a dumbbell, maybe need to train them quite uniquely. A grip carry, farmer's or frame,
Yeah. Right.
a yoke, a sandbag loading, a stone loading. You maybe some kind of push or a drag or something. And I suppose what I've learned myself is like how we can kind of, say for instance, the scenario is my next competition. I've got the Europe's OSG Europe's under 90s in 2 weeks. 2 weeks time. Yeah, 2 weeks time. So my main focus is the movement. Like say in training this week, my main focus is the movements that just training the events that are coming up. But then I've got another few competitions like in the pipeline that, say, yesterday I trained all the events on Friday, right? All quite high percentage, quite heavy, couple over comp weight or whatever. And then on Thursday, sorry. And then I woke up on Friday and I was really sore, like more sore than I usually am. So then I thought, right, I'll go and do some active recovery. So then I do as my active recovery, I blend some skills together that are going to be coming up in upcoming shows. But like the technical aspects of it. So I did 30 throws focusing on high clearance over 15 foot and trying to get the bag as far back. But I kept it really low percentage where, all these aches and pains that I was feeling at the start of the session, I felt amazing afterwards. And I did some log. I did 30 clean and presses with just the empty log, and I was focused on. I've got a new belt, so I was learning how to belt clean at the right angle and finding my position on that. So basically, and then what else was it? I did something else or whatever. But the point is that those I'm actually using as an active recovery tool instead of just going on a cross train or going on an elliptical or something like that. I'm actually doing this so then I can I'll do the OSG comp and then I'll just springboard into the next thing, and I'm already like feeling like I'm building up a little bit of conditioning, a bit of recovery capacity, a bit of specific skill stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So
Uh,
you take your when you're sore or whatever you need an active recovery day, you're turning it into a net positive because now you've already got that time under, with those events, but you're also feeling better. So it's killing two birds with one stone, basically.
yeah, definitely. And I think the key is learning how to self-regulate really well, honestly, and uh, to cycle intensities appropriately in terms of not just fucking right. Oh, people say about yoke. People say, "Oh, yoke brutal, yoke flu. It's really high intensity on your nervous system." It's just like anything. It's just bollocks. It depends. It just completely depends on how much you're doing. Like what how. It's the dose. What's that saying? It's the dose that's a poison. Like it's not the thing that you're doing. It's in fact like when I am injured, right? Or say I get a niggle. I did this exact thing the other day, right? When I get injured, I pick up a bit of a something that's not quite an injury, but you're feeling like tight or really sore somewhere. Like my logic is right. I need to go and expose that movement pattern. And like that's how I've always done it, where I'll go and like say I had a bit of pain in my SI joint after the session on Thursday. So I was going to like expose it by like massive range of motion, good mornings. But the load was just an empty bar. And then at the end of the say a couple of sets of 10, I was like that joint that feeling that I'm like exposing just feels better. I had a bit of wrist pain following like say the keg or whatever. So I'm purposely using my wrist in that next day. I'm doing the log, but I'm doing it at a scaled intensity, and I'm doing it at a variation where say I'm neutral grip, where I did log instead of the axle, because if I'd have gone for axle, I'd have been maybe pushing my wrist a little bit too far. But yeah, so
Yeah, no, there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot you could dive into that, and it kind of does. I think with you getting, like you mentioned, you get shit for like your volume or whatever, your frequency that you're doing stuff.
yeah,
Kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, where strongman is still so new, and I think people are very habitual where they see a program that this person did or this person's done that's been around for 15, 20 years, but
yeah,
that's just what's been around. So I almost take it if I was you, I'd almost take it as a compliment that you're kind of um, creating your own pathway based on logic and that first principle you're talking about and finding a way that works. And I think that tunnel vision in strongman is so important for a coach, for a competitor. Like how many times people get to a comp and they start side eyeing and they see, oh, this person's doing this, but I've trained it this way, and they change it last minute. I think the way you're doing it's the right way, and I get very intrigued by it. That's why I'm kind of just letting you talk because I'm kind of nerding out over you speaking
uh,
about it. So I
yeah.
just
So
I
I
like
get
it.
the yeah. I suppose the tunnel that yeah. I'm good at getting the tunnel vision in terms of, but it's like what's the word? It's what's the word? It's like I'm aware of it. I'm choosing to go into that zone, if you will.
Yeah,
Whereas there's other situations where I'll completely be immersed, like say I'll be completely aware of what's going on around me and purposefully absorbing it. But I can I can choose to switch in and out,
yeah,
and I think um, like say there's scenarios that are going where I'll just be constantly learning, and you know, but
right.
it does but it doesn't put me off, as like when I'm competing. I can stick to my plan, and honestly, there could be like say the room could be on fire. I wouldn't even know, like because I'm just there. I'm just doing my thing. Whereas I go and support. I go and see a lot of competitions like supporting or coaching, and when I'm not with an athlete directly, I'm not there just like twiddling my thumbs and stuff. I'm there like
You're
fucking.
learning.
I'm seeing right. What's he doing over there? Or she's really good at this next event coming up. Like, what can we learn? What can we take from that? Like, oh, why is she doing that? Or why is his hand on there on that? And just constantly being a sponge and fucking obsessed, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably one of the greatest characteristics is like being obsessed and having that beginner mindset, I guess, at all times, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah, I think
you
I
might
think
know
that's
you
right.
might know 99.9% more than people, but you still I say it, every comp I've gone to, whether I'm a volunteer, a judge, a competitor, a coach, I learned something. Like,
Oh
and
man, well that's it. Honestly, like compete more than I suppose I can't think of anybody who's competed more than me in the last 7 years. To be honest, like I genuinely don't. Um, but like I always said, right when I feel like I've done a competition and not learnt something, then maybe I'll consider dropping my frequency down. And literally every company, I learned so much from the Chaos Classic. You could go through like every event, every warm up, whatever, and I'll tell you something that I've learned. They could and say I competed the weekend after the Chaos Classic. Like a lot of people message me saying, "Are you crazy? Like what's going on? Like you crazy? Like I won an open weight show, like 6 days after the Chaos Classic,
yeah,
and it felt easy, felt great.
that's amazing.
Um, but yeah, like even that, I could like everything. I learned something at every step. Like
Yeah.
every single session, every single session. That's what's fascinating about the say. I sometimes flip through my archives on Instagram because I don't know how long it's been that I've been documenting every single session for like whatever 7 years or something, and you can literally see every kind of failure, every kind of competition, every training, every literally a post after every session. I've done that for years, and like after each thing is usually like a little reflection on something, and it really annoys me sometimes when sometimes people message me and saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. Like you shouldn't be they perceive what I've written as like sometimes as like a negative thing that I'm having about myself, whereas I'm actually just being um, honest and I'll just describe things as how they are, which a lot of people um, if you said it in such a frank way, some people would be like almost like if you said it to someone, they'd be like, oh, like they'd perceive it as a negative. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas actually, like I can go and fail and have like do some shit stuff, and I don't give a fuck. I'm not bothered.
Right.
I'll just train. Just train the next day, and like, oh what? Like I've learned this kind of mindset of, well, it doesn't really don't matter anyway. Even on the other side, like coming runner up at the Chaos Classic, like absolutely buzzing. Like even the next day, I woke up. Well, no, the next day I was hungover, but the day after that, I'm just training back to normal. Like, what is it? It's no big deal. And I don't mean to sound like what's the
No,
word?
no, I know what you mean.
I don't like it when some people can get so tunnel vision that they achieve something great and then they don't appreciate it in the moment because they're so fucking set on the next thing. And I'm not being like that. I do really appreciate it, and I just feel like this has been like the, you know, I've I've done what to an extent. No, I've proven myself. I've beaten some fucking world champ, like amazing athletes, and I've beaten them, and shown that I'm capable and proven myself on an international stage. So I'm exceptionally proud of that, and I'm not just brushing it off.
Yeah.
But the next day, win, lose or draw, I'm just training. I'm moving to the next thing, and not in an obsessive way, in terms of, not appreciating it, but actually just, well, if they'd come last at the Chaos Classic, I'd have been like taking the piss out of myself, and maybe had a few more. As I say, have you heard of Roy Keane? Or not? Is it like he used to play for Man United, English footballer? Yeah, Irish footballer. But he used to say, "Win or lose on the booze," and I suppose that's quite a good mantra, really. Not that I go drinking that much, but it's
Yeah.
like it's just win or lose. It's the same thing. We're just fucking playing sport. We're just having a laugh, really. It's not
Right.
life or death. It's just a bit of fun, isn't it?
Right.
Really.
No, that's a good, really good way to put it. Yeah, I don't know if you follow UFC, but George St. Pierre used to say the same thing when he went through like some like psychological stuff where he was like putting an unfair pressure on himself and he was struggling
Yeah.
and stuff. He said before his biggest fights, he would go walk around a grocery store and not get recognized by anyone. And he's literally the number one fighter in the world. And just to put in perspective how small the thing he's doing is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To tell himself, kind of almost exactly what you were just saying. And sometimes you need that. Not like it doesn't matter. It's okay to matter to you,
Yeah.
and be the most important thing or one of the most important things in your life, but still in the grand scheme of things, kind of what you were saying. I think that's a really
Yeah, another mantra that's linked to that is like, say, I'm a massive fan of like, in the moment, nobody could take what, like, honestly, I put myself against anybody. There's nobody who could take it more seriously than than what I do and what I do to kind of win. And it's not just strongman. It's like if me and you played for a fucking dollar a game of pool, like I would do anything to try and beat you.
yeah.
Honestly, just it would matter so much for me in the moment. But then as soon as it's gone, win, lose, or draw, you can take the piss out of me. Like, oh, I'll take the piss out of you. Be like, fucking hell, Josh. Like, oh, kind of thought you meant to be like, it's, yeah, take your thing seriously without taking yourself too seriously. That's
Right.
my thing.
Yeah,
And
I think that's great advice. And, we've mentioned a lot of traits among yourself as an athlete and a coach. Like, as a coach, or just giving advice to strongman competitors, what do you think, like, the few traits that are the most important in getting better and being good at strongman are? Like, is it that
like
self-belief? Is it
being how good?
being I guess maximizing potential. I mean, I guess that's pretty like relative speaking, but if someone came to you and they said, "Man, I want to be a world champion." I mean, I guess everyone says that, but how many people mean it? But someone actually meant it and you believed in your heart of heart. What are those traits that those people share in common and that other people can take? Is it the competitiveness? Is it the
I suppose
discipline?
I don't think it's discipline because like I wouldn't describe myself as disciplined at all. Like I just do what I fucking want to do. Like I
Yeah.
want to do this. Like even when I've been like in like really badly injured, like I'm still going to the gym. I'm not fucking disciplined. It's
Right.
because of
Well,
like I
you are, but it's a
genuinely
habit. You genuinely love it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, like I love it. Like I want to be a world champion. Like
Right. Well,
I,
that's kind of
I just
yeah.
it's not discipline. I don't have a fucking I don't have a bad day. It's still a step to it.
It's just
I don't see it as discipline. I don't see it as
yeah.
discipline.
Like
I see
I see
honestly.
what you're
I see it as a fucking privilege
yeah.
to be able to take a fucking hobby seriously, like
Yeah.
and
And
put the time into it.
that's
I,
one
I
thing
think
that's one thing I'm like very sorry. That's one thing I'm like very fortunate about myself is I hear people say that and that's funny you said it's like, "Oh man, I got to go to the gym or I got to go to." I can honestly say in 10 plus years of training, I've never had to be like, "Oh man, I have to go to the gym today." Like I love
Yeah,
it. And I
the people who say that they could be the most. Like I know loads of people like with who have heard say that who have been a lot more talented than me, and then as soon as they say a phrase like that, I realize shit, they haven't got it.
right.
They haven't got
That's
what it
kind of
takes. Like that. That's it. That's it. Because or people looking for credit for something, or oh, that was such a hard session. I think fuck, you're not going to get very far.
yeah.
You know that
I agree with you.
Another weird trait from the elite of the elite that I've seen in terms of, like it's people who get to the weight class, say world's finals, been there at world, like say world's strongest man final, seeing people, and people would be surprised with the athletes. People would be surprised at how fucking light-hearted the athletes are when they're not on the most of them, and I'm not saying that everybody should be, and you have to be successful, but I think a lot of people would be surprised at just how fucking a little bit like what I said before, like not taking themselves too seriously,
Yeah.
and then boom, the name gets called out, switched on. Whereas you go to like say you see some like so many talented guys that or people that you hear of that so and so he's a freak, he's lifted whatever, he's doing his first show, and then you go to the competition and you can see just by the attitude of everything's a fucking big deal. He's
They're too
like,
wound tight. Like
oh
too
yeah, like taking the sausage, and you just think, oh fucking hell, another one that's not gonna, he's not gonna last 2 minutes,
Yeah.
like
I think
with
that's yeah. I think that's
with
a
an actual,
really good. I think that flipping that switch, being able to
yeah.
flip that switch.
Remember at Myrtle Beach the year before last, right? And
Mhm.
there was like yeah, I can't remember. There's like Matt Rag and Novikov, and they're just like stood around, just joking around, really. And they're getting called out and doing like they're going out for, competing in World's Strongest Man final, going out for the dumbbell. Like it's
Right.
crazy. Like you wouldn't see that at a novice show. They're all like they're just yeah.
Oh,
So
I know what you
like,
mean.
and I suppose it goes back to the thing of there's no point in fucking getting to yeah, that's the thing that I notice is that what I said before about whatever happens at any competition, right? If you want to be truly elite or any bad session, there's no such thing as a fucking bad session. But like if that what the elite of the elite do, they realize that don't fucking matter anyway in terms of the big picture because
Right.
it is such a insignificant step. Even if you go and win this comp or come last, it really don't fucking matter. That's what I've thought for years, and that's what I feel like has been an advantage in terms of mindset. Anything that I've ever won or come last at, back to that thing of I'm not bothered anyway. Like this is going to be a whatever good, bad, or indifferent. It's going to be a distant memory um, when I truly get to where I want to be.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a really good point. I also
Like
feel like
I think so. That's it. Too many people focusing on the mic, focusing so much on the micro,
and
in
not
terms of like, oh god, I feel shit today. I've got a cold. Like, oh, so what? Like,
yeah.
or the dog's eating my fucking. I don't know. The dog's made me late for leaving the house or something, or just something's happened. Well, hello, this is real life. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, right.
and going back to what we said bit about you, like, congratulations, Josh, being a father.
Yes.
But like, that is something. Honestly, I feel truly blessed to. My training has improved so much in the last 5 years since I've had a little girl because she has told me how to you be more time efficient with things. And like she's put things into perspective about things about learning what really matters. Like, you know, people are like, oh, are you nervous going out to do that record? I'm not fucking nervous. I'm nervous like trying to leave the house on time, trying to get my little girl to school when she won't put her shoes on. That's when
Right.
I'm nervous. Like that's like real life. That's when my heart rate gets fucking jacked up. Like when I go, not when I'm pissing around playing sport, like just going for a laugh, like people cheering me on, wanting me to make this lift. Why would I be fucking nervous doing that? I'm having a bit of fun.
Right.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, it's perspective. It's perspective.
Yeah,
And sometimes you need humbled. Sometimes you need humbled by like real life shit to understand that this is a privilege, like you said. I think that's
oh
a
my,
I think that's such an amazing kind of what you just that little rant you just went on. I think that was amazing. And it makes sense. Like it's just it really
like
does.
it just really vexes me. It really pisses me off when people just moaning about moaning about anything when they play like within the sport, and like obviously stuff like getting injured and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
That's terrible, of course, of course. But I mean, just moaning in general. Oh, this was that. Like, I just think, yeah. What I'll even say to some clients sometimes when they're moaning, I say, go and do another hobby. Find something you like. Don't fight it. Don't try and be disciplined doing this thing. Go and find something you enjoy more.
Right.
Go and
100%.
play fucking golf. Like, go and do something. Seriously, that's what I think. That's what I think. And I do actually think quite a lot of people are almost trying to wedge themselves into something. Like, I see it quite a lot
Yeah.
where people are like, say they might be the big guy in the gym or something that just goes to the gym so he doesn't feel like inferior when he's out and about. Like, and he just goes to the gym to feel macho, and then somebody says, you should do try strongman, and then does some of the basic lifts, and he's an absolute animal. But then when it comes to push comes to shove, and they actually need to improve and actually hit something that you're not getting instant gratification with, like, let's see what you're made of, and then he's like moaning about stuff. Like,
Right.
I just think you're getting into it for the. That's
Wrong
where some
reason.
people go wrong. They're getting into it for the wrong reasons. They're getting into it for the instant gratification because they were good. Whereas that's where somebody like me is dangerous, right? Because I'm in no rush, and like I've been shit at everything, and I've worked out how to get better at everything. I'm in no rush, and like yeah, I forgot what I was saying.
No, I know. I love it. I love it.
But
I get
I'm in no rush, and I'm doing it because I fucking enjoy it.
exactly. You
I
have
was,
to.
I was,
That's what I
I
was gonna
was a
say.
lot, I was a lot better at tennis. I was a lot better at football, a lot better at rugby than I ever was when I fucking started playing. But I hated rugby. I only did that because I was good at it when I was younger, and I was in a good team. And they said, "Oh, you should do this, should do that." And then I chose to do football, which I was shit at. But then I learned how to get better at that, and then I just fell into tried a bit of strongman, and then I thought, you know what, this is fucking cool. This I'm not very good at it, but it doesn't matter. I can't do that lift. I can't do that lift. I can't do that lift. But wouldn't it be cool if one day I could do whatever? And then I was paying a fortune to go and run around a fucking wet car park, and with potholes in it, and just absolutely loving it. And now we're actually you're seeing the sport in every country like progressing and getting so much better. And there's prize money, there's fucking sponsors, there's people messaging me every week at the minute, like sending me free stuff. Like, it's crazy. But the thing is, there'll be people getting into the sport now, drawn in by stuff like that. By, oh, well, actually, if I went and did that comp, it's got a bit of prize money, or oh, strongman's got a bit of exposure at the minute. Wouldn't it be cool if I did that? Because I might be suited to it. Whereas actually, someone like me is just like that. That's a big thing that I say, right? And it might sound fucking arrogant for somebody who takes it out of context, but like, I've chosen to be good at this. Like, I've decided I want to be good at it. I decided I want to be good at it, and I was a lot better. I was a good coach before, or relatively successful coach before. I was terrible, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter about me. It didn't matter what I could lift because I could get other people better. But then one day I just decided. I think it was 2019 where I'd done quite a few comps, but I was just like still playing football, still playing tennis, and just kind of fitting the strongman comps in, not really getting that much better, if you will. And then I remember a guy that I coached won England Strongest Man and under 90, and Europe Strongest Man under 90. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh, fucking hell, like what he's done. I said, I reckon I could do that. And like I said it to one of my mates, and he was like saying, oh, you're a dickhead. Like, why do you think you could do that? Like, you wouldn't be able to do that. And I said, I think I will. And then since that day, I was just like, I've just been more like more set on actually not just being a kind of novice intermediate level competitor and actually being like, no, I think I can get to elite level. Because all you need to do
Right.
is all you need to do is practice, and yeah, that's what I want to prove. So that's a big thing that I've is flying the flag for people who aren't necessarily that talented. And it might surprise a lot of people who maybe just see me come out of nowhere kind of thing. They see me perform at that comp the other week, and they might think, "Oh, bloody hell, his technique's good on farmers," or how does he do that? Like, it's just practice. I've been fucking shite at everything. There's been nothing that I have been good at to start off with.
I
Apart from deadlift, actually, deadlift was the only thing that I could do, and like I'm fucking shit now.
that's that's incredible. I'm getting chills from just listening to like kind of your mindset, and I love it. And I think it comes full circle because people saying like we started by saying people saying you came out of nowhere, and then
Yeah,
coming back like how you've kind of done it and the mindset and the like not discipline, but just showing up. And that's kind of the fun thing about lifting weights is it's just almost who can show up for the longest time and work the hardest. There's no
exactly.
real talent to it.
That's that is one of my mantras, which I put on Instagram a few months ago, and I got a little bit of backlash, like people DMing me about it. But like I said said like I just want to like I'm
Just
willing
gotta
to outlast.
outlast people.
Like there's people like say I think Dan Benson, for instance, in my class is fucking absolutely amazing, and I think he's the man to beat. And like realistically, I just I think it's gonna. Even though actually a good stat here, I think I think there's me and only one other person that have beaten him twice. Beaten him twice actually, a few years ago. But he's like my attitude to beating him is like, right, well, if I can't fucking, I keep getting better, and he keeps getting better as well. He's fucking amazing, and I'm never going to get anywhere near him on deadlift. So it's just like, how can I kind of like, I'm just working out my plan how to beat him, and like my thing in my head is like, well, worst case scenario, I'll just do it longer than him,
Right. I love
like,
it.
and I'll just outlast him.
Yeah.
I'll be on the podium when he's not doing it anymore. Like that's like that's my thing.
It's so true though. I can't remember. I think it might have been Jim Wendler or Matt Vincent, some American, and he got asked in a panel how advice from a young kid how to be the strongest. He said show up for 10 years and just consistently do it for 10 years. And it's so true. And it's kind of goes to exactly what you're saying. So I love it. I love it. I'm so thankful you're able to come on. It's funny because after I hear you talk, I want to like mimic your accent after I talk. Like
Feel free
bars
to
and
do that. I'm not offended. Like
no, it just I love the lingo and stuff, and it's like after like you're saying great stuff, but then like sometimes I even smile when you're in the middle of a rant because the way you say it, and it's like super passionate in like different lingos, and I love
yeah,
talking.
that's it. That's what I like about this, because like I don't do that much like long form content, because
Yeah,
but realistically that's where you can be. This is where I can just be myself. Like, you ask me a
right,
question,
right.
I'm just point blank. Like, whereas for Instagram, you have to like edit it down and make it catchy. Like,
Yeah,
give
no one has an
away.
attention span more than like 20 seconds now,
No,
so
that's it.
yeah.
But you ask you a question, you can tell that I'm just telling it as it is, like
Yeah,
straight.
right. I love it.
Oh yeah, that was the thing on the yoke, right? This gives you a bit of an insight. I don't know if you knew this, but I think whenever we went into lockdown, I think when was it, 2019 or
Yeah,
2000?
early 2020.
I can't remember, but my like say the week after going into lockdown, and my gym got closed down. Like my baby, my wife, my partner had just finished maternity leave that she'd been on for 14 months. And basically, I had to look after our baby on my own for the first time ever. And my gym had just been closed down. So it was like, I didn't know whether I was going to earn any money or whatever. I didn't do that much online back then. So it was just fucking chaos. But then, still, then I thought, right, here's an opportunity. Right, what can I do with my training now? Because I'm not going to be able to compete for ages. So, and people have mocked me a little bit for it. But what I did was like a high volume phase on yoke, and I took my yoke out on the road, and I did a yoke for a mile, and put it on social media, and people were just fucking rinsing me for it. Honestly, you could see like cars like overtaking me on the road and stuff. And I basically did a 1 mile yoke week one, and then second week I did 1 mile yoke a little bit heavier, and then week three I did half a mile. Week four I did half a mile with 220, I think it was. So I think it was like, what's that? Just under, maybe about 490 pounds or something. But I remember doing that, and I've had like people come like conversations in the DM. Somebody messaged me, and I respect him for it. Like, he called me out, but in the DMs, like not like say commenting on my post, like fucking.
Right.
He said, "Oh well, yeah, I think it's impressive what he did, but I just think it's fucking pointless. Like, why are you doing that?" And then basically, like, I explained my logic to him. And I was like saying, well, I want to be like one of the best one day at this. And I think it's a really good opportunity because you don't have to, because I haven't done such a high volume phase on it because I've always been competing. And like in the gym, I have to drop and turn every 10 meters. So I can't get that much volume in. So if I go out on the road, I don't have to do as many drop and turns. So I can get more, like, say, continuous moving volume in. And that was my logic. And basically, like, I had it in set that I wanted to be like world class at yo and all that
Right,
stuff.
right.
So, like, say, doing that, what was it, 900-pound yoke the other day, and just smoking it and feeling like I could have done fucking 10 sets, exactly the same, probably faster. Is just an example of having that long term mindset, you know,
Right.
beginning, end in mind kind of thing. And it being such a long term thing for me.
Right.
You know? And again, going back, yeah. So
No, I love it. I feel like we could talk all day, but
yeah, man.
man, we'll have to have you on again and make it an
Hey,
annual or semi-annual thing. 'Cause I love it. I like talking to people like you who are smart, but you can tell have the passion as well, and
yeah,
it's a great feeling to talk with you. So I hope a lot of people listen to this one and take a lot from it because there's a lot of info in here, and I'm gonna be saying British terms now for the next week after talking to you.
yeah. And if anybody's got any questions, like feel free to message me on
Yeah.
Instagram. Like just message me.
Yeah,
And
if you're watching on YouTube, we'll have Josh's Instagram name on here, also British Strongman Coaching, and then we'll tag your handle in the post as well, because he puts out a ton of content, like I said, posting every damn session for however long, and but also like really helpful tips and thought processes behind different things. So definitely one of my highest recommended people to follow on Instagram. So.
yeah, so like my biggest passion for, like, say if somebody sends me a cold DM who I don't know, right? That my biggest thing is like I'm massively passionate about helping other coaches be better coaches and actually being more like, say, kind of, you know, if they're wanting, like, say, to be more intricate in terms of a breakdown of a specific event or tactics or strategy and stuff like that, in terms of helping their athletes get better, or any kind of advanced athletes, like, say, national. I don't mean to sound snobby, but like, say, like national level and above.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like, say, if somebody's like listening to this and wants to start out and they're doing a few local shows and stuff, like there are so many brilliant coaches out there that can help you, you know, with the basics. But I suppose my kind of passion is blowing people's minds who've been already competing at a high level before. You
Yeah.
know,
It's
and like,
like
oh fuck, why have I never thought of that? Like, why did I never think of trying my hand there, or trying that piece of kit in that kind of, you know, just little things where I seem to go a lot. So a lot of people think I go unnecessarily deep on things, but It's that's the it comes from the background of my background is specifically as an athlete is I want to be like, how can I beat the people in front of me who I know that are stronger than me?
Right.
If we go gym lifts, I know he can lift more than me on that. Boom, 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 boom. But I think I can still beat him somehow. Like, how can I do it? What's going to be the most efficient way to beat it? Doing a fucking 48-week cycle on this lift and wait for myself to get stronger. Well, of course I'm doing that anyway. People think that a lot of people, some people think that I do these things like say in the place of actually getting strong and progressive overload. Well, no, I just take that as a given that that's everybody's fucking baseline. Everybody knows to do that. But it's like, how can we get these little boosters? How can we get you winning before you feel you're actually strong enough to win? That kind of
Right.
thing. And
Huh.
yeah,
Well, that's awesome. That's good stuff. Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on. Like we said, make sure you're following Josh on Instagram, and all his content, and congratulations on your podium, even though you probably already forgot about it, like you kind of said, and you're on to the next
no,
one. But
no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
but
Great.
yeah, man, good luck in the next 2 weeks from now as well, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Nice one, man.
Thank
See
you.
ya.